What's up, fellas? Blue Dream MMA here. We're still in the aftermath of UFC St. Louis versus Nascimento, which was a great card. Basically the night of fraud checks. All the frauds got checked that night on Saturday. Honestly, I think maybe one or two guys that were supposed to be coming up and had, how can I say this, promising, future were actually provided. Most of the other guys, they really did not put in work. They either got finished or utterly dominated. So today we're going to be talking about Joaquin Buckley and what should be next for him. I have in mind to give him some 3 or 4 exciting matchups for the future, for the next fight that he has. I personally want him to be on the main event of a fight night card. He could also be co-main event on a actual pay-per-view, but I would like to see him as a main event for a fight night because I feel like he has potential to become a star depending on who you match him up with. And yeah, let's first talk about the Ruziboev fight. Ruziboev was like, he had already 40 something fights. We didn't have much data on him because, like I said in my previous video, he got fed a lot of easy fights or like favorable matchups. And yeah, honestly, the way Joaquin Buckley went out there and dominated the guy. He was moving so well. He was fast, good head movements. His punches were straight. He wasn't just throwing a lot of random hooks and stuff like that. So I'm really happy to see Buckley fight like this. I said in my breakdown video that it didn't feel right to pick Ruziboev, and honestly now I get it, because for weeks I had it for Buckley until the day of the breakdown, and honestly that breakdown I had most of my fights wrong. I don't usually break down the prelims, but also in the prelims I had a lot of the fights wrong. I think in the prelims I was 3-3, and main card I was 2-6, 2 out of 6. So that tells you everything. That was the worst card for me, but it was great, honestly. And I love that fight night. Now let's move on to who I think should be next for Joaquin Buckley. To me, the first guy that I would like to see Joaquin Buckley fight, I think, should be Geoff Hands of Steel Neal. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Geoff Neal is a really interesting fighter. He has great boxing, heavy hands. He's fast, and he's not that heavy. Well, he doesn't look too heavy for a welterweight, although he's pretty well built himself. But yeah, he's around the same height. I think he's 5'10", just like Joaquin Buckley. I think that would be a really good fight. Some black on black violence. I want to see someone that has also a name that we know. Everybody that watches the UFC that is really interested in the UFC knows who Geoff Neal is. He's not a pushover. He's really hard to beat. He had a really close fight with Shafkat, where he went to hell and back with that guy. He got beat up by Wonder Boy for the whole fight and did not quit on himself, was always pushing forward. He has this style of, he likes to push you to your limits and try to knock you out with his hands. That's how he fights, and I really like that about Geoff Neal. I think that him versus Joaquin Buckley could be a really interesting fight. We saw also Geoff Neal have a really good fight with Ian Gary, mostly on the feet. So if you remember that fight, he was really counted out. He was doubted a lot for this fight. But after the fight, it was a split decision. But a lot of people felt like Geoff Neal won the fight because he really put it on Ian Gary regardless, So that was a really good fight. And I think that him versus my boy Joaquin Buckley would be a really good fight. I think that it's a really exciting one, and it would have a lot of explosive moments. That's what we want, as UFC fans. Like, We like exciting fights, explosive moments, and I think that a fight versus Geoff Hands of Steel Neal is the deal for that. Now let's move on to the next one. We have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's a mastermind, a karate mastermind. He has such great footwork, great straight shots, his jab, amazing. He moves really well. He's pretty hard to hit. That is the one thing that you will see when fighting a Wonder Boy. Well, when watching a Wonder Boy fight, he's so damn hard to hit, and he's also out of range. That's the thing about Wonder Boy. And let's not forget the kicks. Let's not forget the kicks of Wonder Boy either. He uses them like a spear. His deep kicks, his side kicks, his head kicks, switch kicks, every damn kicks that he throws. Like the dexterity that he showcases is insane. It's a beautiful thing to see. He uses this like a jab. It's amazing. And this is something that Joaquin Buckley will have to adjust to as well. You're not gonna just be able to get into Wonderboy's range because of especially his kicks. Not only his movements, but definitely the kicks that comes with it. But his weaknesses, if you saw him fight, you definitely know that, is the grappling, the defensive grappling, defensive wrestling. He's good at getting back up, technically, but he gets put on his ass a lot, especially lately when they're making fight more so grapplers. They don't want to make it. They don't give Wonder Boy as many striking matches because, well, I don't know why exactly, but usually Wonder Boy's like I said, it's so hard to hit that can make for sometimes more boring fights, I would say. But I think that a dude like Joaquin Buckley could make kind of a difference in that matter. I think that Joaquin will be in his face. Joaquin is probably faster, or likely to be faster than, because he's really fast, man. Joaquin might be a little faster than Wonder Boy, especially since Wonder Boy is up there in age now, and he's like 40, if I'm not mistaken. Wonder Boy is not a young man anymore, so I think a young Wonder Boy would be a really bad matchup for Joaquin Buckley. I think that Joaquin would what might agree with me on that one. I think that a young Wonder Boy is a problem. But now I think that Joaquin could make a name on Wonder Boy. Although it's still Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy, if you know anything about him, is his kickboxing career went really well. He was 37, I think it was 37-0 at amateur as a kickboxer, and 20-0 as a pro kickboxer. So Wonder Boy is not just a guy that you're just gonna bully on the feet, regardless of his age and regardless of how many losses that he has. Because currently, right now, Wonder Boy is 2 out of 3 in his last 5 fights, just like Geoff Neal. Although, like I said, he fought a lot of grapplers in that span. He fought Gilbert Burns, Belal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov. These are 3 really offensive grapplers, really oppressive grapplers. And this is something that Wonder Boy has shown issues with in the past. But his 2 wins were against Geoff Neal, whom I mentioned before, and I guess Kevin Holland. So if you want Wonder Boy to win, you have to give him a striker. That's why a fight versus Joaquin Buckley is an interesting one, because Joaquin is not just a striker, as we saw in his last fights. He actually grapples now. Like he will go for takedowns as well. He doesn't care, and I think that Joaquin will be able to take down a Wonder Boy down. And Wonder Boy also happens to be a little chinny, something that Joaquin Buckley can definitely work with. If he lands a good shot, especially with the power that Joaquin has shown so far, who knows? Who knows if Wonder Boy can take it? If it eats a real good shot, he could get dropped. But is Joaquin gonna be able to finish him? That's something that we'll have to see, because Wonder Boy is not someone that gets knocked out easily either. No matter how much you knock him down, it's really rare to actually manage to knock him out. The only fighter that managed to do that so far, as crazy as it sounds, is Anthony Pettis, a 45er, 55er. That's the only man that was able to knock out Wonder Boy so far, and that's because he used Wonder Boy's antics against himself. When Wonder Boy throws a kick, a side kick, especially from the southpaw stance, he tends to retract it in such a way where, if you're able to react like Pettis did, you might be able to hit him and knock him out later off of that, and that's exactly what Pettis did. Pettis got push kick, used the like he was near the fence, so he used the fence as a springboard and just jumped forward and knocked out Wonder Boy with a hook, with a flying Superman hook. It was amazing, but that's it. That's the only guy that was able to knock him out. Yeah, so that's definitely a good fight. Now let's move on to the next one of Joaquin Buckley versus Gilbert Burns. He actually asked for that fight. I saw Joaquin after the main the St. Louis card in the post fight interviews, press conference. Sorry, he because he asked for a McGregor fight in the octagon. I think he had a good call out. If you want me to be real, I think he had a good call out of the McGregor fight. He just went a little too far at the end when he went and disrespected his forefathers. I don't think it's worth it to do all that shit, especially versus a guy like McGregor. I think that McGregor now is a little bit more PC. That might sound crazy to y'all, but think about it. McGregor that fought Khabib, if he really wanted to rebuke that, to send him a rebuttal, if he goes and say, I've read about your family name, let's be real, it won't go too well. But Buckley, in the post-fight interview, press conference, he's not a delusional guy at the end of the day. So his real call out was Gilbert Burns. And I think that Gilbert Burns is a really, really interesting fight. Because Gilbert, he's not easy to beat at all. He got power, he has good striking, and he's worlds ahead of Joaquin Buckley when you talk about grappling. I think that the grappling aspect of things definitely makes it for a more interesting fight. Because if they just keep it on their feet, I think that Joaquin could knock him out, honestly. But if I'm Gilbert, I'm probably grappling with that dude. But in the 5-round fight, we know how Gilbert goes. In the last 2 rounds, he tends to slow down a little bit. But Gilbert is definitely still a problem. He's also 2-3 in his last 5. Which is, it's a recurring team now. You saw like the last guys that I mentioned are all 2-3 in the last 5. So it's not a compared to Joaquin is 5-5. I think in his last 5 at welterweight at least. So I think the Gilbert fight is a really, really compelling one. I think that I think it's a really interesting one, honestly. I think if you combine their 2 styles together, this might be the most exciting one out of the 3 that I mentioned today. Gilbert has, I don't want to say that he's a great grappler, but we haven't seen him sub too many people lately. In the last 5 years, he has 1 submission, and it was to Neil Magny, whom he triangle choked. Arm triangle choke. By the way, I would say it's a rare submission. It is a rare submission, although we see a little bit more nowadays. But yeah, he arm triangle Neil Magny, and submitting Neil Magny is really not that easy. Gilbert has also fought some really, interesting guys. If you look at his biggest fights, you know, he's the first man to knock down Kamaru Usman. I don't know if you guys remember when Kamaru was still the champion and was still running to the 170 division. Kamaru is one of my favorite fighters, by the way. He got dropped by Gilbert Burns in a fight, and I don't know, like I was like he didn't drop on his ass or anything. Kamaru has great balance. He was able to like keep himself from falling on his ass, but his hand still touched the ground. That's a down opponent. And yeah, after that, of course, Kamaru came back and beat him. But that tells you a lot about Gilbert's power. At that time, Kamaru could not get shaken out by any shot. You could throw anything at him, it did not matter. You could throw anything at him, it did not matter. He would just walk through your shots with no problem. Then he also, Gilbert also fought Khamzat Chimaev, whom, by the way, I think he beat him. I personally think that he beat Khamzat Chimaev in a rather close fight, by the way. But I still gave it to Gilbert. Now, granted, Chimaev went on to beat Kamaru Usman, but I still think that Kamaru won that fight too. Actually, I had it a draw because I gave it the first round a 10-8, then two rounds to Kamaru. But that's a story for another video. Then there's the Jack Della Maddalena fight. If you know Jack Della Maddalena, he's a great boxer. He's a heavy pressure fighter and just beats people up on their feet. Although he's not the most high IQ guy. He was the one knocked down shit in that fight. But Gilbert Burns was really putting on him until Gilbert got reversed, and I think he got up and he got kneed to the face and he lost to a knee. But still, this fight proves to us that despite the age, because Gilbert is like 30, 35, 36, maybe 37 or 38. But Gilbert is a pretty old dude, you know. He's been fighting forever. It's coming up from 155. So he still has a speed advantage on a lot of these 70-pounders. Although I'm not sure that he will have one versus Joaquin Buckley. He was pretty fast himself. But I think this is the most exciting fight for these guys. If not the Geoff Neal fight. So I think these are the fights that we need to see next for Joaquin Buckley. And if the UFC feeling crazy, why not putting a little Conor McGregor in there? It doesn't make sense, but who cares about sense, man? Let's fucking do it. I think that a fight of him versus Conor is actually an interesting one. Who do you guys think will win? It's not serious, of course, but who do you think would win in a fight versus Joaquin Buckley and Conor McGregor? Now, these are my selections for who should be next for our boy Joaquin Buckley. Let it be known how you feel about it in the comments. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'm out.